Woo. Quite a prediction. Let's bring in Michael Starr-Hopkins, Democratic strategist and contributor to The Hill, and Matt, chairman of American Conservative Union. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Matt, let me start with you. I mean, if this doesn't get done, the Republicans could get crushed, the way Lindsey Graham said. This is according to a CBS News national tracking survey. 39% of Republicans feel that their party's congressional representatives don't like the president and are trying to undermine him.
Yeah, it's not often, Melissa, I wholeheartedly agree with Lindsey Graham, but God bless him for saying what he said, because it's just the obvious truth. As chairman of the American Conservative Union, we go around the country and we meet with activists. We were just in Arizona. We're going to be in California, Kansas. We go all over the country. You know what they keep telling me? Which is they sent Republicans up here to fulfill their promises to undo the radical Obama agenda. The top of that list is regulations, which the president and the Congress have done a great job on, cutting taxes, and repealing and replacing Obamacare. Those are the top three. And to fail to get something done on taxes or repealing Obamacare will cause a tremendous revolt out there across the country.
Michael, I mean, are they going to get any help from Democrats? If you look at, for example, the corporate tax rate, I mean, Rand Paul was out making the point this weekend. Ireland has a 12% rate. Canada has a 15% rate. I mean, 20% is still above other countries.
It is, and I've said for weeks, actually for months, that there are areas where Democrats are willing to come to the table.
Is that one?
Yeah, that is. I think we can get the business tax rate to around 22%. I think we can repatriate funds. I mean, 22% is a pretty reasonable area. The president started at 15%, and between 20 and 22% is about where he expects to land.
Why do you pick that number? Have you heard something we don't know? I mean, is 22 what Democrats are talking about? Because that's a strange number.
I won't say my sources, but I would be very surprised if the number goes above 22. But back to one of Matt's points, I have to say, if that clip of Lindsey Graham is not into an attack ad by Democrats, it's political malpractice, because he's absolutely right. Republicans said that they were going to get tax cuts. They said they were going to get Obamacare repealed and replaced, and they haven't been able to do it. And I think part of that has to do with the president's leadership. The president can't attack Lindsey Graham and attack Senator Corker and attack Paul Ryan and then expect them to put their necks out.
Michael, I was so with you, man. I was agreeing with everything you said except that last part, because actually, if you look at all these polls, people are not blaming the president. Matter of fact, this disruptor in chief we have is exactly what conservatism and Republicans want. Look, they sat around for 8 years and watched Obama have his way with the political system, and they want to see a Republican be equal to the task of undoing that agenda and implementing our agenda, and that is what needs to happen next.
Michael, I mean, in some ways, attacking those guys helps the president keep the people who liked him in the first place. I mean, they didn't like when he looked like he might be part of a swamp. And I go back to that poll that I was telling you about. 37% think congressional Republicans don't like Trump, but they pretend to so they can try and pass their own agenda.
For sure. Attacking Mitch McConnell and Senator Corker, it helps him with his base, but it doesn't help him increase his base. And the president needs more than 35% of the country to get reelected, but also he needs more than his base to get legislation passed. And I think that's one of the issues he's dealing with.
So let's take on that point. Hang on, let's take on that point, because, Matt, he did start out trying to deal with Republicans out of the gate on repeal and replace. It didn't work. I mean, when he was solidly with the right, for whatever reason, they didn't work together. So now it's kind of like a double win for him to move away from them. He looks like the independent guy that his voters wanted him to be in the first place, and maybe he does actually get some Democrats on board, Matt. I mean, Michael was talking about the corporate tax rate. Maybe there is some area to agree. What do you think, Matt?
Okay, two quick things. The first thing is the president. I've talked to him about this. He has been frustrated. He was willing to listen to Republican leaders in Congress on the right tactics on both of these two major areas, Obamacare and taxes. But what he saw on Obamacare is everything they said they would be able to get done, they couldn't get done. Now, the leaders wanted to get it done, and some conservatives are confused about that. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan wanted to repeal Obamacare, and they fought very hard to make it happen. And it was more liberal Republicans who stood in the way, which is why you have Steve Bannon saying, hey, if we have moderate or liberal Republicans standing in the way, we're going to get rid of them. And I think that's an important dynamic about what's happening. And on the second piece about whether Democrats, look, Chuck and Nancy already went along on a budget deal. They're already talking to the president about DACA. We're already talking about. No, that's not true. We're already talking about infrastructure. And here's the simple thing: when we talk about these budget reconciliation vehicles that only take Republican votes, the Democrats are allowed to come on board at any time. If I were a Democrat in the Senate, which God forbid I ever be one, I would go right now and cut the best deal possible.
Real quick, because I gotta go and I gotta let Michael get in. Michael, sometimes I think Chuck and Nancy, as we call them, protest too much. They may be on the phone with President Trump making deals on the side, but they have to squawk loudly in front of the cameras. What do you think of that?
I mean, I think on both sides, we all have to play to the politics of the now. But I think that there are areas where they're willing to work, and I hope we can.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you both.
Thanks.
Thanks, Melissa.